This is Andy Purewal for Boxing News. I'm joined by Jack Catterall over Zoom. Jack, firstly, congratulations on your successful ring return this past weekend. Yeah, I'm sure it felt good for you to be back in there.
Yeah, thank you, Andy. It was good. It was nice to be back Saturday in my home, pretty much my hometown as well. 15 months out of the ring. We kept chipping away. We kept working. We had fight dates falling through. Obviously, the partnership with Matchroom and Eddie. We got on a great show on Saturday in Manchester, and it was phenomenal to be back.
Just walk me through let's go through the build up firstly, Jack. Obviously, we never had a chance to catch up going into it. He was always a favourite, but Darragh Foley certainly, he sold the fight. He got engaged with the media commitment, started to say how he was thinking he was going to beat you. But didn't come to fruition for him, but he certainly seemed like he was up for it.
Yeah, you know what? Always respect to Darragh Foley. He sold the fight, and it was a good fight. I enjoyed it. I enjoyed being in the. We know that he's had a couple fights as of recent, so he had that momentum going forward. Notably the Davies fight, which was a matter of 10, 12 weeks ago. So we knew he was in the gym. We knew he was fit. He actually said it. I think I seen an interview straight after the fight where he kind of had that little feeling when I'd signed with Matchroom that he was going to get the call. So he was in the gym and he was ready. So it wasn't like it was going to be an opponent on 2, 3 weeks' notice. He had the 8, 10 weeks just as I did. And I hand on that, truly believe he thought he was going to come over here and beat me, which got me excited. I'm at that stage in my career now where, although I've been out the ring 15 months and I'm chasing these big fights, we couldn't afford to have a knockover job on Saturday. We knew Foley was going to come. Very tough fighter, very game, never been stopped. So I knew that I had to be on point and fully focused on him to get the job done.
Fully focused indeed, and you certainly put in a tremendous display. I don't think many people would have seen signs of ring rust. Did you feel any in there?
You know what? There was a couple of times, but I think testament to the team that I've got. We've been training, and obviously we know about the fight dates that have fallen through. So I have been in the gym. I enjoy being in the gym. Uh, there has been days where you have to kick yourself and get to the gym because it has been frustrating. I'd be lying if I said it's not been going to the gym. And I've said this before, but I've been sat with Jamie Days thinking, are we going to get to that point where we're going to get an announcement? We're going to get a fight. And there were some dark days, but we're past that now. And when I got the announcement, it was a good feeling. But obviously, we know too well with boxing, the fight's only really on when you both walk into the ring after all the disappointments that I'd had in the build up to it. So when I got to the venue Saturday night and I knew Foley was there and everything was good to go, it got me excited.
Jack, how would you reflect and assess your performance now? A bit of time's passed. He was dominant, like we say. You obviously dropped him as well. So yeah, how would you assess it now? You can reflect.
Yeah, I'd probably give it a 6 out of 10. I got 10 rounds in the bank. He'd never been stopped before. I didn't get the stoppage, but I certainly had him hurt a few times. I was happy with my jab. The output was okay. Defense felt sharp. Uh, and like we said, it's been 15 months since I put them small gloves on, so I was happy. I put that pressure on myself. I had a lot of support there Saturday. They turned out for us, and it was a really good atmosphere. So I knew that I needed to perform and put that bit of added pressure on myself. But happy with the performance. I know that I can, as the level goes up, I can adopt and rise to them levels. Did what I needed to do. Probably could have gone through the gears a little bit more, but still happy and know that there's room to build and improve all the time.
Room to build and improve, and you look towards a future where you'll hopefully get to show those improvements that you'll be wanting to make. With that in mind, what is next? I know this was your kind of comeback one, and it's all the talks being big fights next. Your second fight back has to be a big fight. So I know it's only a few days on, but what have those initial discussions been like?
Yeah, we've not had any real discussions yet. I've seen comments that Eddie's made. We've had a few messages, but it's exciting times, and I think we all know now the division is going to be one of the hottest divisions in boxing. We've got the likes of Haney, Garcia, Prograis, Taylor, the IBF champion. There's a lot of good fights to be made now. So I think I've made it clear I want to be involved in these big fights and get my hands on them world titles. So I think over the next couple of weeks, as things materialise, we know we've got Prograis fighting 2 weeks, Taylor fighting in a week and a half. We see how these fights unfold, and we go from there.
Everybody would assume that the most likely route for you would be the Regis Prograis one, given the fact you're both under Matchroom now. Is he maybe for you the name you're pushing for? I know you'd still like to, have the Josh Taylor fight, but away from that, would you say Regis is the one you're kind of pushing Eddie for?
Yeah, definitely. I've made that clear since the day I signed with Eddie and DAZN. Regis is the fight, I believe. We know he's got a fight. I'm not too clued up on who he's fighting in a couple of weeks' time, but my guess is that he will come through this fight, given that it's a late change of opponent. So, God willing, he gets through this fight. I don't see any roadblocks in making that fight. We pretty much agreed terms a couple of months ago under a different banner. Through no fault of my own and Regis, that fight fell through, but I now believe with Eddie, he can deliver that fight.
That must be particularly frustrating. Obviously, you had terms agreed and it just falls through like that.
Yeah, it was frustrating. I think it was definitely frustrating for me. I'm guessing it was frustrating for Prograis, but uh, you're talking 2 fights with Taylor falling through, and then agreed terms to fight Regis. That's then fallen through. Uh, there were times where I was uncertain I was going to get back in the ring. So, uh, but again, now we can close the book on that. Regis has got a fight, so he's got to, as I did at weekend, you've got to focus and get through that fight. But I believe that fight can be made.
Just with Regis, obviously, when people see how you like to box back foot, very, very, very good counter puncher, as we saw on Saturday night, you would probably need somebody who is more aggressive like Regis to really works in your favour. Do you agree with that? Do you think yourself and Regis would be a very good matchup?
Yeah, I think the styles would gel well. I think Regis, again, if you watch some of his fights, he comes forward, but he's kind of a come forward kind of puncher as well. So uh, I think that we would gel well on the inside, fighting in the pocket. Uh, and it's an interesting matchup. I mean, we've both only got the one stripe on our record to the same man. Regis has gone on again and claimed the WBC title, 2-time world champion. So every credit to him. But it's a fight that I'm definitely up for and one that I believe I can win.
And obviously you mentioned the other man who's been hot on your mind for the last year and a half in Josh Taylor. He's getting ready for Taylor-Lopez next week. What do you think happens in that fight?
Yeah, interesting fight. Really hard for me to call. Uh, Lopez didn't look great at his step up to 140. That fight I think was a bit underwhelming for him. Taylor's last fight. Uh, I didn't think he won that last fight he had. So it's an interesting matchup. And then we're looking at the injuries that he sustained throughout training with his new team, how he's overcome them injuries, how Lopez has regrouped after his last performance. I think there's a lot riding on it from both. So interesting matchup.
Who do you think will come out on top?
You know what, Andy? I wouldn't be surprised if Taylor ran through him. Uh, I know it's only Lopez's second fight at 140. Uh, and again, though, but I wouldn't be surprised if. Sorry about that. The battery almost went. Let me plug it in. I wouldn't be surprised again if Lopez had regrouped and he can cause Taylor an awful lot of problems. And again, we just mentioned the injuries that he's picked up. So how he's managed to adapt his training and overcome them. So I'm really on the fence with it.
Obviously, we won't know until he's in the ring next week, but Josh has been adamant he's returned back to that more aggressive style and nature, which got him to kind of a pinnacle of the sport. If you see that version of Taylor, what would you make of seeing him in the ring?
I don't believe he ever lost it. I just think I managed to nullify him in the last fight, and I had all the answers, and and maybe that was an excuse that he didn't get the fire in his belly and he didn't have a great training camp. But I don't buy into it too much. If he's feeling good now with his new coaches and he's managed to overcome some mental barriers, then fair play. But again, I'll be watching and we'll see what we make of it.
Just away from Josh, you had a certain O'Hara Davies who was there on Saturday night, obviously a former foe of yours. He's getting ready for his mandatory shot at Rolly Romero. How do you fancy O'Hara's chances against Romero?
Sorry, Andy, I lost you then. Yeah, interesting fight. O'Hara Davies, he blows hot and cold on it all the time. I can't see Rolly fighting him, if I'm dead honest. I think Rolly will vacate the belt and O'Hara will probably box for a vacant title. I don't see the big interest in that fight happening. But you know what? If he gets the world title shot, I think he can do. After watching the last performance of Rolly, I think O'Hara can beat him. So, you know what? I wish him all the best for that fight.
And obviously, you had a very heated build-up previously. Even then, since then, there's been a couple of back and forth, shall we say? Any interest? You know, it wasn't the most.
Couple of fourths, no back. He doesn't really interest me, and he definitely can't get to me.
If he had a world title over his shoulder, there.
You know what? The only time I'd fight O'Hara Davies if there was a world title on the line, that fight really doesn't interest me. I mean, you could both agree. I probably beat him in first gear last time, and it wasn't the most interesting fight. But if there was a world title on the line, then it's definitely something we could consider.
I'm glad you said that, Jack, because I didn't want to say it myself. It wasn't the most fan friendly of fights last time, but you never know in boxing. But of course, you don't know what the relationship's like with Eddie. Have you seen his little coming together with Eddie on Saturday night?
Yeah, seeing Eddie put him in his place Saturday night, it was quite funny actually. I only caught the little Insta reel of it, but again, I feel sorry for O'Hara a little bit. He seems very confused, and I don't know who he's got around him, but probably ill advised. But uh, yeah, 1 minute he's saying one thing, and then next minute it's something else. And I think by the sounds of it, Eddie put him straight in that little interview they did on Saturday. Uh, I thought he was going to turn up and make some noise, but I didn't even see him.
Jack, just moving away from yourself, just get your thoughts on some of your campmates. Obviously, Aqib Fiaz fought on Saturday night as well. Had to come through the fire a little bit when he got dropped, and it was what seemed to be kind of a heavy knockdown, and he did well to see out that round and then the following round as well. Did you catch him? I know you'd been warming up, but did you watch his fight at all?
You know what? I watched his fight last night, and then I thought the first 5 rounds they were flawless. Not being ignorant, but I forgot the opponent's name. But he seemed like a very tough game, very strong opponent. Looked really in shape and really up for the fight. So, but I thought he looked well. He controlled the distance and the pace, the output, the variety, the body and head, the angles. I think he looked really good for 5 rounds. And then, like Aqib said after the fight, you go running in the rain, you get wet. He got caught with that short little left hook, and things changed for him then. But again, he's only in his early 20s, Aqib, and he looked really well. I think he jumped up off the floor too quick, but then there was still well over a minute left in the round, and to overcome that and survive and evade the punches and tie him up showed the stuff he's been learning in the gym and the experience he's been picking up. So, and again, then I think he knew that the opponent was dangerous, and obviously his opponent's grown in confidence after that knockdown. So he had to have his wits about in him, and I'm just made up he got through the fight and got the win.
And of course, you had Chantelle Cameron, who fought only a week or so before yourself. Just walk me through kind of her victory against Katie Taylor and where she now stands in women's boxing.
Yeah, she's right up there now in women's boxing. She's the GOAT, but I was made up. We didn't manage to make it over for the fight. Selfishly, I was still at home a week before my fight. We sat down and watched it. I was over the moon for her, seeing the work that she put in over this last year. And I think Chantelle will agree. We didn't think that fight was ever going to happen for her. Katie called for it, and then within 24 hours, we got the announcement. And she did everything in that ring that we knew she could. I think after the first 10 seconds or 20 seconds of the first round, it felt like she had a distance already. Katie was falling short with her punches. and she sustained that throughout the fight. And it was mega. I like to think that I'm mentally strong, but it was a big occasion for the whole gym when Chantelle boxed, and her getting that victory just made it all the more sweeter going into our fight week, and the energy that she brought, and the team come home on a high, and we brought that energy into fight week in Manchester last week.
Chantelle's obviously in that position where she's kind of having to wait to see what Katie Taylor does, whether she rematches her or goes another route. From what Katie's been saying, she wants to pursue a rematch with Chantelle. Chantelle said if that happens, maybe a few more terms to be in favour of her as opposed to Katie now. How would you fancy Chantelle's chances if she could have the rematch at 135?
Yeah, I think Chantelle was probably naturally a lightweight anyway, but the opportunity come to fight at the weight above for the world titles. Obviously, Katie had all the belts, and we didn't think she was ever going to get a shot. So she's gone on and cleaned up at 10 stone. And I think it's fair on Chantelle if she does get a bit more of a. Obviously, I know what Katie's done for the sport and has been doing for the sport for numerous years, but I think she's defended her belts, and she's put that work in. So I think, you know what, the rematch will more likely go back to Double M. And it'd be nice for Chantelle to get what she wants out of it and to challenge for Katie's world titles, 2-time undisputed at lightweight.
Just want to loop back to yourself as well, Jack, before I forget. You mentioned Devin Haney earlier. Now, we're obviously waiting to see what he does, whether he will move up in weight. He comes up to 140. For you, if I imagine if anyone was to challenge him, given where he's at in his career, you'd probably have to have some gold around your waist. With that in mind, is it on your mind in terms of all these big fights that you want to be able to bring something to the table?
Yeah, definitely. It goes without saying, my opportunity went last year with all the belts, so I'm now on the hunt back for these world titles. They've all been scattered. Regis is the fight that I want, that I think that can be made. And ultimately, if we're talking about Haney and Garcia and these fighters coming up, they're going to be coming for these belts. So it's only right that I get my hands on one first, and I'll have something worthwhile fighting for.
All right, Jack, we will leave that there now. I'll leave you to obviously enjoy the rest of your day. Thank you for speaking to me, and I'll speak to you again soon.
Andy, thank you very much.